Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. I'm Sue, and you've just stepped into Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Every week, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine, a remarkable entrepreneur who's not just changing the world, but also harnessing a secret weapon, time outdoors. Together, we'll dive into their journey, unpack invaluable business advice, and discover why embracing the wild is not just good for the soul, but also a goldmine for inspiration and innovation. Ready to uncover the secret that's boosting bottom lines and fueling joy? Hit subscribe and join us in the wild. Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Today's guest, I cannot wait for you to meet Lani Jackson. I have been on training calls that she's had. I've interacted with her in Facebook communities and just one-on-one, and she's just lovely and freaking smart and has a fantastic story. So I'm not going to tell you anymore. I'm just going to say, welcome show. Lani, I'm so glad you're here. Would you give yourself like a little introduction here and tell us what you're up to?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that we got connected and I can't wait to have this conversation. So like you said, I'm Lani Jackson. I am an entrepreneur. First and foremost, I've been an entrepreneur for like 15 years now, although I did start my first business at 15 years old. So I'll have to tell you that story. But I am a business strategist and mindset clarity coach. So I work with women entrepreneurs to help them get clear on their vision and goals and build customized business strategies to help them accelerate their profits, grow their team. And my big passion is to help them not profit just in income, although, of course, we all want to make the money. But I think that as women entrepreneurs, if we can have high profits in income, time, fulfillment, and energy, it's game changer. And that's truly what we want more than 10K, 20K, 100K months is we want that high profit of like, I have plenty of time. I have lots of fulfillment. I have energy for my family, for myself, for the things that I love and want to do. And when we stop chasing the income and we create customized strategies that let us have all four of those areas in profit, that's where the magic really happens, where we find lots of fulfillment in our businesses.
It's so great. And I will vouch, guys, like literally you're going through, it's not just, all right, how do I get to the money here in the fastest path to cut? Like Lani has you really like focus on what is it that matters to you? And then let's create a business around that,
Exactly.
why not?
Exactly. And if we get distracted by comparing ourselves, well, I'm not making as much as her, so I must not be as good as her. I had to let that go because my value and my, what I really needed and what I really wanted wasn't just a dollar number. It was a lifestyle. And so when I released that, things really changed for me and my businesses.
So cool. So cool. All right. So how did you get where you are?
So my first story of being an entrepreneur is when I was 15 years old. I put on a birthday party for my sister. I might have been a little bit younger, actually. She's quite a bit younger than me. And I threw a birthday party for her. I was definitely the town babysitter for all the little girls there. And the moms came and they're like, wow, this party was amazing. I'm like, well, I will host it for you. Here is how much the expenses are. Here's what I will charge you. So that was my first, I wrote a business plan for myself on how to budget expenses and how I would profit off of it. And it was, I had that realization a couple of years ago. I was like, wow, I've been doing this for quite a while. Just didn't know I was going to love it.
That's it. An event planner.
Yes. So, I started my first business right after I had my first baby, and I did Pampered Chef was my first business. And then quickly after that, I got into the online space with blogging was really coming about right then. And I became a blogger, a virtual assistant, and just kind of spiraled out from there. And over the years, I started adding businesses and I added babies until now I have 6 kiddos. We have 3 biological boys, and then we adopted our youngest 3 from foster care. So I have twin girls who are babies and then another boy. So my middle 2 boys are 6 weeks apart. And so we have a very, very busy household. They're literally 6 years apart from the oldest to the youngest. So they're all crammed in there. And as I was growing my businesses and adding babies, I was really, really desperate to I can do this. I kept seeing all these entrepreneurs who are moms, who were, they were bloggers, they were influencers, virtual assistants, course creators. And I just was so hungry to like, how did you do that? How did you do that? And I tried a lot of things. I loved working behind the scenes. And it took me several years to come to this conclusion that I had to stop trying to be everybody else in business. And it really dawned on me the opportunity that I had to embrace myself and my unique situation, who I was, my skill set, and my voice. I was invited to a mastermind retreat by several of my friends. We kind of put it on together. And we got away. We went to the middle of nowhere right outside of Austin. And we were sitting outside. And these girls I thought were so successful and just amazing. And they poured into me and reflected back to me what they saw. And for the first time, I realized actually me being who I am instead of trying to emulate and copy and these other amazing, brilliant women who I just love, I'm not them. I don't have the same amount of kids as them. I don't have the same personality. I don't have the same story and background. And that was really the first time I realized this could be possible for me to really be bigger than it's not just a dream, but it could be a reality. And so that inspired a lot of change for myself. And I could get to the nitty gritties of like the actions I took, but it really created a vision of like, oh, I'm me that's the success story possibility is embracing myself.
That's amazing. I definitely want to hear more about that. Like, what did that end up, practically, how did that change what you were up to?
Right. So the first started with me deciding to stop playing small and to stop chasing what might work next. So I, at the time, had 4 different businesses. So we had a brick and mortar, I had my blog, I was a virtual assistant, and I was a PR agent. So yeah, I was stretched thin. Let's say on top of that, we had 6 kids and they were all very young. So I was exhausted. I wasn't doing any of those businesses well. None of them really were like excelling because I was just doing too many things. So I came home, talked to my husband. I said, we're doing too many different things. I have to go all in on one, maybe 2 of them. And so we started scaling back and I went down to 2 businesses and eventually to 1. And that was number 1. You have to go all in and play. Like, this can't just be something I'm doing on the side. You can't keep changing your mind, changing what you do and chasing the next $20. Cause that's what I was doing. I was chasing $20. So like with the virtual assistant or the PR agency, is that another $20? That like literally that's how it felt. And I got more than that, of course, but it was inconsistent and I was exhausted. I was staying up till 2 a.m. and getting up really early and falling asleep with my kids. And that's not the life I wanted. And the money I wasn't coming in the way I wanted to. And it was hard you can't scale beyond your time. You just can't. There's only so many hours in my day. So then I decided, okay, we're going to scale back to just 2 businesses. We started to sell the brick and mortar and went all in on blogging and influencing was the goal at that time. And I found myself saying, okay, now how am I going to stay serious about this and stay organized? Because I realized one of the things I was doing was every day getting up. I'm so overwhelmed. I have so much to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Because that's how I felt, even with getting rid of some of the businesses that I was doing, I don't know if you've ever heard of the app Marco Polo. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I would every day, and I didn't realize this until I went back to re-listen to something I told my sister. I was saying to her every morning, I'm so tired. I'm so overwhelmed. I have so much to do. And some version of that was on repeat.
Oh man.
And I just kind of had this moment of hearing myself say that. Wow, that's every day. And that sucks. So I'm literally predicting how my day will be. It'll be overwhelming. I will never accomplish anything and I'm going to be exhausted. And so I was just getting into kind of more of like that manifesting, intentional thinking, mantras, all that. And I told her, I said, I'm committing to you. I'm going to change this narrative. And so I found Trello, which if you've never heard of Trello, it is a project management system. And I thought, okay, I'm going to stop having all these paper to-do lists everywhere that are just driving me wild. And I'm actually going to decide what is important, what is not important. And I'm going to assign it a time and a date, and I'm going to be efficient at it. Because my daughters were very small and they also have special needs. There was only a certain amount of time I could work without them getting into a lot of trouble. So I broke everything in my home life and in my business life down into 15 and 20-minute segments. And I wrote out what was important, everything that wasn't important. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not even going to consider it. These are the things that make me money. These are the things that are important to our family. I'm going to do those. And I split tasks that maybe would take me an hour or two down into smaller, like bite-sized chunks. And it was the game changer for me. It was everything. I went from $400 to $1,000 a month of monthly income to $4,000 a month of monthly income in 6 months.
That's dramatic progress.
Dramatic progress. And I went from working late at night every single night and staying up late to only working 5 hours max a day. And it was more like 2 or 3.
Okay. That is far more like, wow.
Uh-huh.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Really.
And
wow.
like, I actually had time to spend with my husband at night, and my kids were like, oh, mom's not on her phone all the time. And I was keeping up with my house and the chores, and it was this light bulb moment of like, wow, I created this monster of overwhelm and did not know how to swim out of it. I tried all the planners. I tried all these little tips, but what I didn't do was customize to what was really important to me and break it down to what worked for my time.
That is really amazing. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah. And now that I work with women all the time in businesses, like all kinds of industries, like I work from different women who are, there's a lawyer, interior designer, coaches, all kinds of industries, right? Every single one of them, if I can at the very get-go help them to really like own their time, understand their priorities for themselves and their family, then we can create the business strategy. It's when we do, I need to do this strategy and then try to make it fit into our time and make it fit our priorities when it really isn't. That's when you end up overwhelmed and exhausted in your business.
Yeah. That's incredible how you were able to really pare it down, going, here's all these things that I have been doing, I could be doing. And they're just really taking an honest look, going, does it matter?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with online business. This is the wild, wild west. There's no one right way to do business. And I guarantee every day in our feeds, there's a new, this is the way to grow your business to 10K months. This is the way to get 50K in 30 days. Every day something is popping up and saying it's Pinterest, it's this. And also during that season of my life, that's when a lot of new apps were coming out. Like Pinterest really was taking off. Facebook groups were starting. Like all of these, things were just yelling and screaming at me, basically saying, you must do this, do this, do this. And you can't do all of them. And everybody says their way is the right way. And I appreciate that because they're selling their product, but it's not the only way. And I think that's the thing we have to step back and say, there is no one right way to grow a business. I have a client that I worked with for years who was on no social media at all. She had a podcast and she had a YouTube channel and she made great money. So anybody who tells you have to do something, they're just trying to sell you their product.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think probably everybody listening to this, everybody who's going to read the article, we all know that. We've all, the wall of shame, all the products.
Oh, yeah.
Software.
All the things we bought. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, exactly. I had an aha moment really come to me with this like situation is I called up one of my friends at the time when I was really starting to like really accelerate my business and start to see it grow. I was like, hey girl, I just saw this course. It's so great. It's $1,000. It's a stretch for me, but I think I'm going to do it. And I was like super excited because this was going to be everything. It was going to help me really, really make some money. And she called me out and she says, Lani, you could teach that course.
Oh.
And I was like, no. She's got some like super, like she has this thing in there. She's got these templates. She's like, you could make those templates. And every time I said something, she pushed back at me. She said, you could do it. You just haven't yet.
Ooh, yeah.
And that, like, if you've never had a friend call you on that, that's a really hard pill to swallow. And one, it's nice because she believed in me, but also the truth was I could do all those things. I just hadn't implemented them into my business and taken action on them. And those things that you think you need somebody else to tell you what to do, before you go and buy that course, that plug and play thing, or that super secret template, you have to ask yourself the question, have I even attempted to take action on this on my own? Because you probably know a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a great friend, first of all.
Yeah, it was. She saved me $1,000
and more probably. Cause that's where I want to go with this is like, so what, that's a fantastic, she held a mirror for you, basically. I'm sure a lot of things came up like, well, wait, why have I not done this? Why do I think I can't? Is there some, am I looking for permission? What is going on that I'm not doing this? What did that result in? Like, that's a major turning point, I would think.
It was. So then I decided, okay, everything in that course, it was a pitching course, so at the time when I was blogging, and I wanted to work with more brands. I wanted to have more, opportunities to do collaborations and make money because that was the big way to make money. So I said, okay, how can I do this? So I took my Trello board that I had for my, businesses and I created a new board, pitching. I listed all the brands I wanted to work with. Then I wrote the emails that I would introduce myself, and I wrote a template for myself. I then went and did the research to find the PR contacts. Then I set aside twice a week for 30 minutes. I would send out a minimum of 5 emails. And that year, I worked with, I don't remember, I think I worked with 100 brands.
Oh my goodness.
And whether they paid for my family to go on a 6-day vacation, completely, comped, or I made, several campaigns. I think my biggest campaign was like $8,000. It was crazy, but I would never have had the yeses without the action. And I got a lot of non-responses. I got a lot of people who said, no, I'm not a good fit because I wasn't the biggest blogger, in the world by any means. But I just learned to I'm going to pitch myself as this crazy mom of 6. This is how it would be with the big authentic family where we don't have perfectly curated feeds. If you want that, I'm your girl. And a lot of people said yes. And but what came about, and if I could encourage someone listening, is if you're like, oh, well, I want something like that too, whether that's I want to fill my group program, or I want coaching clients, or I want to sell out my products, and you think you need something, well, how are you going to take action? Even if I bought the course doesn't magically give me all the results. I still would have had to take action. So if you need to buy a course, buy a course. But the real thing that you need to go along with whatever that thing is how am I going to put this into action, and sustainable action? That's my favorite word, is sustainable.
That's the thing. Yeah. And the way that I love and what you teach too is like, yes, there's this huge big goal, whatever that we're working for. I've got to have X amount of whatever it is in order to make that happen. It could be resources, clients, whatever it is, and that can look very overwhelming, but you get it down to, okay, what can I do really regularly every single day It's going to be easier. It's like that slight edge thing where it's easier to do it than not to do it after a while because it becomes part of your thing.
It is. And it's hard to think like, oh, I need to get all these things. I like thinking, oh, I need to pitch 100 brands. Like that's insane, you know? But if I just break it down into, well, today I'm going to spend 10 minutes and I'm just going to brainstorm all the brands I want to work with. I can do that. That's not overwhelming. I'm going to send out 5 emails, or I'm going to write the pitch so I can send out 5 emails. I'm going to send 5 follow-up emails. The same, like if you're trying to get a client, thinking, oh, I need 20 people in my program. That's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. But if I think, oh, I need to have 2 conversations this week, and I want to have 8 conversations every month, and I know that half of those are going to get on a sales call, and I know that 2 of them are going to sign, I can start to slowly build. And you can go as fast or as slow as you want to, but you can base it off of like smaller actions. And that is where it makes it so easy to do it. Instead of sitting in front of your computer feeling like nobody cares, nobody wants to work with me, nobody wants to buy my products. Like we just get all in the down in the dumps, like, oh, this is just so hard. But it's really just small actions that make up an amazing business.
You know what's really cool is like, all right, so I mean, you've had coaches, I've had coach. I mean, we've all, everybody's had a coach. And sometimes it's like you're in a program or with a coach and it's like, do they do anything else other than this? Like the amount of expectation, like, oh, you don't have your 100 already, that type of thing. And what I love is like anybody who's working with you, it's like, it's almost as if they also have 6 kids. You have built systems that work. You have ruggedized this thing. You could probably have 16 kids and it would still work. That's a lot of kids.
I've not worked with anybody who has 16 kids, but I will tell you it could. I think the thing that I really try to purposely do for myself differently, because I have had coaches. I had a coach one time tell me that if I wasn't spending a minimum of 60 minutes a day networking on social media, then I was going to fail. Yes. And I was like, well, then I guess I'm going to fail because I don't have 60 minutes a day straight to even if I broke it up, like that was just too much. The thing that makes me different in that I really try to focus on is to see you as a client, to see myself. Like when we can really like look internally and ask ourselves questions, and then how can I make this work for me? There's a lot of people with great ideas and great things out there. Even my system, I could hand it to you. You could try to copy it and you're not going to make the same income as me. But if we can take the base of it, because I think business at the core, any business, corporations, small businesses, online, whatever, at the core, we have, a foundation of an administration process, an operations process, and a marketing process. That's it. We could break everything down into those 3 categories. So if we can understand what is important to us, and then we match up our time and our energy, what we are really good at, what makes us different and unique, and then we show up sustainably with action on those, you're going to scale. You're going to grow. I told you, every industry I work with, I don't care what industry you're in, it works every time if you will do those things.
That's amazing, because it's, a lot of people, like when I first built my writing business, I was on guru.com. It was hilarious. I actually went out on a flyer. They sent out a marketing thing and there was my face in my own mailbox. I'm like, what on earth?
I love it.
I don't remember them asking permission, but it was okay because I became the #1 writer on there.
That's amazing.
Which was like, wow, this is crazy. Then they changed their algorithm. Things went weird, but I was like, then I realized, oh, all right, that was a little bit of a fluke because, yes, I was doing the regular thing, but it really took off. But that was not something that was replicatable. And I love the way that you teach. It's like you're doing effective action, but you're also building a very sound foundation for your business because you have like, these are your marketing activities. These are your administrative. And so it's not like you just luck into it and then you can't do it again when you need to, right?
Right. So. And the opportunity for those lucky things to happen are going to come up because you are showing up. Like if you hadn't signed up for Guru and hadn't been present and hadn't been a great and amazing writer for them, they never would have put your face on the flyer.
Of course, yeah.
And so there are lucky things that happen in businesses, like going viral or connecting with the perfect collaborator who just refers you out or getting asked to speak somewhere. There are those things that happen, but they only happen because we've been showing up.
Yes.
And I had to learn that for myself, because I kept thinking, I just wish somebody would pluck me out of the group and tell, I'd be like, work with Lani. But that doesn't happen if you're hiding and you're not showing up and being present in the small settings. If you want those opportunities, you have to show up, because you posting one time on a video, a reel or a TikTok could go viral, but it's not likely to. Yeah. But post 100, you definitely have a better chance.
That's great. That's great. And I love too, these things that we can do on an ongoing basis, they typically become easy to us. Mm-hmm. If you do something 100 times, it's pretty easy by the end. Yeah. And these are the legit sound building blocks of a business. So it almost kind of puts your business on autopilot in a little way. I mean, you're still doing the stuff, but it gets easier.
Absolutely. And you focus on money making activities. I definitely do this every couple months. I'll do a filter of, what am I doing this week? Is this a 10-cent action or a $1,000 action or a $10,000 action? And it's surprising to me, even still, after all these years, I will get caught up in 10-cent actions. To me, a 10-cent action is redesigning a graphic on Canva 10 times and spending 3 hours there. Because that can happen so easily. I can get sucked in and I'd be like, get this perfection mode. And that was a 10-cent action. Really? Is that perfect graphic really going to create business for me and income? Maybe, but most likely it's just going to be seen for a second and it's gone. What will really, really get more response and more money is me having conversations with women in my community. It's me planning a workshop, or it's me doing follow-up. Those actions are much more, income producing, profit producing than me designing a graphic.
That's huge. And I love that too. It's like, we need to be able to take a step back and have an objective look. How often do you ask yourself that question of, is it 10 cents, $10,000, somewhere in between? Yeah.
So I teach the women I work with to do an expansion audit every quarter, and definitely at least twice a year, doing a deeper dive. But it's not as scary as like the IRS audit, okay? But I want to expand. We want to expand beyond where we are. We want to grow. So to grow, we have to know where we are at and where we are going. We want to go. And so I use a method to filter through, okay, where have we been? What are all the actions I'm doing? And then I go through and rate them. Is this bringing me a return on my investment of time? Is it bringing me a return on my investment of money? Because some things I'm paying for, it's surprising to me. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I signed up for this subscription or this tool and I am not using it. So why am I paying it? And I did this with one client, 1 year at Christmas time. And we went through, before the new year, all of the things she was paying for. And when we cut out the things she wasn't using, we saved her $4,000.
Oh.
Like that was insane. Just in that first pass of marking off, we can cancel all these things, it was immediately $4,000 of savings.
That's amazing.
And I was like, holy cow, but we just would never have done that. We just kept doing business, kept growing, kept adding more things to the plate. But when we take the time to really look and say, what am I doing? What are the acts? So not just what am I paying for, but also what are the actions I'm doing? And I recommend doing it at least once a quarter.
That's really smart. That's awesome, man. I love that. That's going to give a eureka moment to somebody right now. Right?
It's fascinating what it shows up. And then I ask myself, do I need to keep doing this or stop doing this? Do I hate doing this? Do I avoid doing this? And it's surprising, some of these things that come up. And I'm like, oh, I really haven't been doing it that much. And even though I say I am, I really haven't been doing it that much. It's because I really don't want to. So if I really don't want to, why is it a part of my business plan? Can we give ourselves permission to say, I don't like Instagram. I'm not going to show up there.
Yeah.
why not? Right? Have you ever considered that you can give yourself permission to not be on Instagram if you really hate the app, or TikTok, or whatever it is that you're just like, I don't really like doing this.
Yeah.
So,
because that removes not only the dead time of doing something that you're probably not doing it that well if you don't love it,
You're not, and it's probably taking up a lot more time because you're dragging your feet. And
I was going to say, then there's
the
procrastination that happens before you go do the thing that you don't really want to be doing. It's, what a huge drag that we can just cut off.
Exactly. Cool. It always cracks me up because when I do these with my clients one-on-one, I can see some of the things when I start to go through the list with them. They're like, well, they usually take a big deep breath and then they try to excuse it. And then they have this reason. And I'm just like, well, do you really want to be doing it? And if you don't, we either need to hire someone else to do it for you if you really think it's necessary for your business, or we need to come up with a different way of doing it. Because there are some things that are necessary to do in our business that, like bookkeeping. I don't like bookkeeping. So you hire it out. You can't stop your bookkeeping just because you don't like it. But you can either hire it out, or you can create a different process. Or you can just set a timer and say, I will do this in 30 minutes every month, that way it's just off my plate, and be more disciplined about it. So there are things that we can do to set up more success for ourselves.
That's great. It's like looking, I always relate everything to being outside, and it's like, all right, you got this boulder here. What do you round over, under, blow it up with dynamite? What do you want to do?
Yeah, paint it, make it a mural. I mean, really, what do you want with it? And we can integrate things like that into our business and make it say, hey, this was ugly and not enjoyable, and now I love it.
That's great.
And that's the best feeling for me when I see my clients doing those things. I'm like, see, you used to remember when you hated that?
Yeah. Now you're doing it.
Exactly.
It really sounds like it kind of boils down to taking an honest look.
Yeah. And looking at yourself, and stop saying I have to do it this way because someone told me to, or even if it used to work for you and you used to enjoy it, but now you don't. Then, we can adjust. There are things that I used to love doing when I was, first starting out in a business, or even in motherhood, or whatever it was, that I just am like, that's not my thing anymore. And that's okay. We can move and grow and pivot. But taking the time to get out of the weeds of your business and really see the strategy instead of throwing spaghetti at the wall. Spaghetti at the wall works when we first start because we don't know what we like or what will stick or any of that, but that is not a sustainable strategy. Eventually we can get to the point where we know exactly how long it takes to get dinner on the table. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, how do you coordinate all this food to be ready at the same time? And I'm like, because I've been doing it for a long time for a lot of people.
Yeah, I got a system.
Yeah, well, that's where it comes from. It doesn't just happen. It didn't happen the first time I cooked. I mean, I remember the first time I cooked for my in-laws. Oh, it was a hot mess. It was such a hot mess. But that was because I was new to doing that kind of, coordinating. And so if you're still feeling a little bit of a hot mess in your business, keep practicing. You're going to get to this point where you're like a genius in the kitchen kind of feeling, and know exactly where things are and what to do and what works for you, what spices you like, and what's your go-to. That's what I want you to get to. And if you can get to that point, then it's easy to say, oh, I can just double this recipe. You can just double your income because you know exactly what it takes to do that.
Yeah. It's all sciencey.
I love it. Yeah. I had a coach tell me once to be a scientist and to look at my business like, oh, let's see what this brings. And if it's not bringing the results I want, say that's interesting. That doesn't mean anything about me. It just means I get to test a new theory.
That's pretty good. That's pretty solid, man. So I'm always, when I see somebody who's very self-possessed, very smart with business, but very strategic, all of this, I'm always like, how did you get like that? and for me, I know, and for a lot of people, we become who we are, we sort this out. A lot of the time that we are offline doing just random stuff, mowing the yard, driving a car, whatever like this. This is when a lot of our best thinking has to happen. We're not focused directly on a problem. We're not talking to somebody. We're not in the heat of it. We're just kind of processing the back brain like that. Mm-hmm. I do my best outside, especially mowing. But I want to know, where do you do your best talking to yourself and in processing and connecting the dots and getting these aha moments? How does that happen for you?
Oh, that's a great question. There are a little bit of everything. It definitely happens a lot of time with movement, for sure. I've had a lot of aha moments on my walks that I try to do, around our neighborhood. I'll just go for short walks and I'll just have this moment. I always bring my phone with me because I could pop open a Trello board and be like, this is the idea I just really. And I've been mad at myself when I don't have something to write down whatever came to my mind, because the biggest lie I ever tell myself is I'm going to remember this. So I definitely find going on walks. Sometimes it'll just be doing, I call them a little bit of mindless tasks for me, folding laundry, I love cooking. Cooking is one of my hobbies, literal hobbies, which is good because I have 6 kids, 4 boys. I have to cook.
They're gonna eat.
They eat. So I'll be cooking and just letting that energy kind of flow, the movement and creative. I think another part is doing something creative or energy movement that doesn't have to do with your business allows that kind of part of your brain to wake up where it's not in the thinking of the nuances. And so for me, that's really always been I think the walks and cooking are probably my 2 big inspiration moments for sure.
That's great. That's awesome. It's so cool seeing that, because that can be kind of scienced up as well. It's all right,
yeah,
I know that I'm processing of some ideas for how I'm going to do this, or, we're at the end of the year. How are people planning their next year? Maybe go take a walk, go cook, go mow a lawn, go,
Yeah. And if you're getting stuck, if you're getting stuck in something, you're like, I don't know how to solve this issue, get movement going. And I will say another place where I really get a lot of inspiration is I try to at least once a year get away with a group of women who inspire me, who are better than me, who hold me accountable. And whether that's with a coach or just us, and go to water. I love being on the ocean, the lake, nature, something where we're away from everybody. We're not working in our business. We're just dreaming big. And those always are pivotal moments for me. And I told you, that one that I went to, that very first one, it just changed everything. So it's important to me to do that every year.
So have you done that regularly then?
Oh yeah.
That's
yes.
amazing.
Now I host them myself. I host retreats every year as well. So I just had one for my clients in September, and I'm planning another one for April. And those are on the ocean. Well, the Gulf of Mexico here in Galveston, because I'm from Houston. So they're just lovely. They're just a place where you can just get away and breathe some semi-fresh air, because it's still the Gulf. but it's beautiful and it's relaxing. There's something about being by that water, the sound, and that stimulates just what could be different, so
yeah. I love that. Now, if you were just directing somebody, maybe they couldn't get to one of your retreats, but what would you recommend for somebody to do? Let's say, maybe they gather 3 or 4 friends and they go and do this. How would you advise them to do that?
To host themselves? Okay. So again, I think it comes down to really asking great and powerful questions that you don't normally ask yourself. Is what do I like doing in my business? What's working? What's not working? What do I hate? What am I mad about? Have you ever asked yourself, what am I mad about in my business? What's super frustrating to me? If I could have anything I wanted, what would it be? And just start asking those questions and saying them out loud, and letting other people reflect back to you and pushing back and saying, well, why does that matter? Or why do you keep doing it that way? Or why not do it this way? That's when the breakthrough moments happen, is when we ask ourselves those questions, we say them out loud. And sometimes we can even in those moments be like, that's ridiculous. Why have I been stuck here so long? But it's just that moment where we say, oh, I wasn't thinking that I could do things differently. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Or it is possible for me to have this thing I want. Or, wow, I see I'm on the path to getting that. How can I accelerate this journey? Like, that's where the things can come out. And so that's where we first started. And now I'm a little bit more strategic of my retreats. But if you were just on your own, I'd write down those list of questions and start with that, and then don't stop there with the questions. The next step is, what's my plan of action to make this happen now? And that's where the game really changes, is to say, now I know what to do.
That's great. How many days do you think is like the ideal thing for, the retreats that you run, or, somebody doing it?
I like so I've done different amounts of time. I feel like 2 full days is a good amount of time. It's like 3 nights. So get there, let's say we get there on Thursday night, all day Friday. We're, really doing hot seats and talking and asking those questions. And then Saturday can be more of like, okay, how are we going to break this down into action? That's what I kind of, but if it's a real small, intimate group, that works. If it's a bigger group, you need more time. I have done longer retreats where we've taken a 3rd day to start actually doing the work.
Oh.
And that is really awesome too. So, you can kind of make it into a workcation is what I call it. So we have the visionary stuff. We break it down. We decide what we want next. The next day we take, okay, how are we going to make this into action? And then the 3rd day, all right, let's start putting that, whether that's opening up a Trello board and breaking down the steps. It's making the templates for something. Maybe it's outlining a course that you want to produce. That can also be, because while you're in that energy and that flow, taking advantage of it is really powerful, because the hard part is coming back to reality. And too many times I've been guilty of this. It's like going to a conference. You're like, I'm all hyped up. This is amazing. I took notebooks full of notes. And then I get home and I put the notebook down and it just collects dust.
There's Kool-Aid on it.
Right. You're like, oh, look at that shelf. There's a ton of, I keep some stuff on my shelf just to remind me, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm never going to do, because I didn't have a plan to take action and I didn't actually put it into my daily schedule. So really making sure that happens is what I really want to emphasize. Is you can get away with your girlfriends and business friends and have a great time and relax and and dream a little. But if you don't come back with a plan of action and actually integrate it into your week, it's not going to actually mean anything for you.
It's so practical. I mean, I love hearing you talk, because it's just like, oh my gosh, of course, oh duh. And I think, and it's like, and it takes these things that are kind of amorphous or seem hard or whatever, and it's just like, nope, here's the little practical thing. And that's
because
really
it's
cool.
Easy to forget them. But I really associate a lot of business and what I do in business, and I connect it to how motherhood works with kids. And if I want something to change in my house, I can't expect my kids to change anything, because they don't see what the mountain of laundry. They're just going to walk by it. Right. So if I don't like how things are functioning, I have to put it into action and say, okay, instead of me just being frustrated that this isn't working. And so that's why I say moms make the best entrepreneurs, because we already are constantly problem solving, creating systems, getting creative with our environment, with what limited resources we have. So if you can do that in your own home, and you can make $1 stretch into, 10 mils or whatever you're doing, you can do that in your business. So it's the same kind of principles.
That's pretty awesome. You're 100% right. It's very cool.
And that's really what drives a lot of my strategy, is try to think okay, how can I relate something very practical and simple into our businesses? And again, business is universal, strategy is universal, but bring that to life, and then bring it to customization for you and how you want to show up.
It's perfect. That's so great, man. That's so great. guys, if you have the opportunity, well, maybe not guys, ladies, if you have the opportunity to work with Lani, sorry, guys. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, if you are a mom entrepreneur, come and join our free community, the Brilliant Mompreneurs Society. That is a free community that I host. You also are welcome to sign up for my email list, where I send out lots of resources and also offer workshops and challenges like you attended for free. And then I have a training on how I turned my marketing strategy into 10 minutes a day to grow my audience and community and email list. And that's called 10 and 10 Connect. If you're interested in learning how to do that in just 10 minutes a day, there is a training, LaniJackson.com/10, the number 10 in 10 again, number 10 again. And I can give you the link for that. And then I'm also on Instagram, Lani J Jackson, Lani J Jackson. So hang out there, DM me. I love talking and connecting with women. And if you need support and you're like, how can I create customized strategies? I have several different ways and options to work together, try to meet women at all stages and phases and levels of business. So happy to discuss.
And guys, I can confirm she's wonderful, wonderful to work
Thank
with. You definitely, for sure. Seriously, your emails are some of them. Obviously, everybody gets tons, but I actually open yours.
Oh, yay! Every time. I love it. I like it. And I'm okay with people unsubscribing. I know we get so many emails, but I try to make my emails practical and like that you walk away with something either inspiring you, challenging you, or inviting you to join in on something.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us. This is really cool. Guys, I'll put all the links in the description. They'll be in the article. So thank you, Lani. This has been a pleasure. And I hope that you have a fantastic holiday season coming up with all those kiddos.
Yeah, it'll be crazy chaos in our house.
It'll be beautiful. I love it.
Yes. Thank you for having me.